I will be playing a game against a 2000 rated player here on Leeches, and if you want to fully benefit from watching this video, you need to try to think along and guess my moves before I make them. So I am playing here the Scandinavian defense, and we are playing against the E5 advanced variation, which is really not such a good variation for white to play, but it's very common with people that are unfamiliar with playing against the Scandinavian defense. And the reason why it's not so good is because basically what we are going to get is the French defense position. This might look familiar. The huge difference being that this time we have the bishop outside of the pawn chain, which never happens with the French defense. So this is basically just a very bad way for white to play. For white to play the opening. We do need to think about developing the bishop, developing the knight. If we move the knight, we block in the bishop. If we move the bishop, we block in the knight. So what I'm going to do is I will take and see what they do. All right. And then I can move my knight without having to worry about anything. Okay. And I think they are going to castle probably. So the idea for black in these types of positions is always to try to fight against this center as much as possible and basically try to, as much as possible with every single move, see if you can add extra attackers to that center. I feel like bishop to g5 is such a useless move. I don't know. Like, we just have queen b6, attack the pawn, attack this weak pawn because the bishop just abandoned it. Yeah, doesn't look that great. And I will also be playing h6. I think here we have a very interesting moment, because basically our opponent is giving us a free pawn straight from the beginning of the game, which can sometimes be a trap. It can be a poison pawn and you can lose your queen if you take it. But I don't think that's the case here, because rook b1 is actually not possible because of my bishop. My bishop is protecting that. And I see they also just basically dropped this pawn for no reason. So I'm not really sure what I should think about this. I think it's just free material all over the place. So let's start with this one. And then that one in the center is basically also dropping. And this is a beautiful example to just show that literally almost nobody with white has a single idea of what to play against the Scandinavian. Like, they try a bunch of things, but it's always blunder after blunder. It's just incredible. It keeps amazing me that just nobody is able to play against the Scandinavian. All right, so knight b3 is interesting. We cannot take here because the queen is now protecting. This move looked interesting, I think. Bishop to c2, but then they play queen here. We cannot take the rook because of the knight. Maybe we play a5. Try to see if we can play a4. We also always have to keep an eye on the queen, but I mean, as long as we have that bishop, there's not really any problems. Potentially trapping our queen, but I already saw that we always have a square where we can deliver a check. Plus we also always have the move queen to c2. The check, well, I guess he goes here. I'll probably just play queen c2. It's just offering a trade, and we are trading and we are already up a pawn. But those free pawns on the queen side are not always as free as it looks, or as it seems, I should say. So you have to watch out when you are taking those free pawns that you don't end up eventually running into trouble, which is what can happen very often. So that is something to watch out for. Do we have bishop c2? I don't know. Well, it's a trade. But do we really want to trade that much? I'm not sure if I want to trade that much, maybe. Because, I mean, we are up a pawn, right? We are up a pawn, that's good, but just being up a single pawn is usually not enough to win the chess game. Because if there are still rooks on the board in the endgame, the opponent will be able to keep a draw. We also have to watch out a little bit for this one, which is still under attack. But I don't really see any troubles. Like, my opponent keeps surprising me with moves that I completely did not expect. So if I play bishop g4, I'm threatening to just take and win a pawn. And he cannot push or he drops the pawn. So I don't know what's going on with his moves. And then we can play bishop b4. Okay, isn't that just another pawn once again? Take, and then we take here. Yep, that's 2 pawns. That's great, and we get the beautiful square for the knight here on f5 potentially against that pawn. So I think this game is a beautiful example of what I have said in so many of my videos, and that is, if you just play simple, solid moves, you try not to force anything, and you force yourself to do a CCT check every single time your opponent makes a move, basically meaning you need to look at all checks, captures and threats that you have, it can be easy. Like, your opponents are literally going to give you free material, and like 95% of games most of the time. I think up to 2100 rating, like almost every game has a blunder at some point. So if you just try to play very simple chess, it can be easy. Like, look, they put a knight here, we can take it. Isn't that just another free pawn? Is that pawn number 3? I don't know what's going on here. Yeah, I think that's just pawn number 3. Ah, there is bishop here, which is interesting. If he played that, then I had to play f6. But this looks like it's just free pawn after free pawn. So do we go back? We do pin ourselves, but I think it's not a problem. Plus we block the file. Don't know what's going on with that, but my opponent doesn't care about pawns apparently. A good question here, is castling still useful? Like, it looks like the obvious move, we castle, but I don't know if I want to put my king there, because we don't really benefit from putting the king there. I want to play king e7, but then I would drop this in a horrible way. So maybe we first need to get the knight away from the edge of the board. But I'll go f5 first. Maybe king d7 is an interesting one. Okay. I can protect my knight, or I could castle. Yeah, I think castling just might make the most sense after all. Usually I don't castle in these types of positions, because you are putting your king like almost in the corner, and we are already in the endgame, so we need to activate the king. But I feel like here it is okay. That's a very interesting move, because he is basically saying that he controls this square, so there might be a problem there. So I think I will play f6 and then e5. Yeah, I think I will go for f6. I mean, I am completely sure that we have a bunch of winning moves in this position. But the only downside is we did get 3 pawns, but they have the 2 bishops. And sometimes 2 bishops can be annoying to play against. But I will have to start using my 3 extra pawns, because if I never use my pawns, then it doesn't matter that I am up 3 pawns. But I'm incredibly happy. We are most likely going to win this game, and then I am so close to 2200 rating. I'm actually doing a rating climb, trying to get this account to 2300, so we are getting really close. That's one move I expected, but I think it's completely useless if I play rook c1. Oh, does he play bishop there? And then I play my knight there and attack his other bishop. Yeah, I think it's fine. We just have to make sure that we don't blunder anything back, and I am most afraid of his light squared bishop. I think the light squared bishop is the one that can cause us trouble. Okay, so can I play knight here? Alright. I'm basically just trying to get trades at this point. Maybe I should also start looking at that c3 square. If I could get a piece to the c3 square, like a knight, that would be nice. Okay. So that move is logical, but it does weaken that. All right. I'll probably need to get my king involved. Okay. So I was thinking about this move, drops a pawn, but then I play g6 and I think his bishop is just trapped. So let's see, we go here, he takes, I go up. He moves up the king. I move over a rook. He moves over a rook. And then I come closer with the king. And then his bishop is trapped. So I think we can trap the bishop if he takes the pawn. And if he doesn't, I will play g6 probably. But I feel like my opponent is putting up a really good defense here. Okay. And we might actually need to start playing with the h pawn and put the rook on the h file. I think that will be the only remaining strategy we have. Yep. Let's put, well, do we put the rook there or push the pawn first? Probably push the pawn first. Okay. So I'm thinking about rook h8, but I was not 100% sure that it doesn't blunder anything. If he takes, I take. He takes with the bishop. Yeah, I think it's always fine. I just need to watch out. As I said before, that light squared bishop is really his best piece. Also, I think knight b4 is an incredibly good move that I should play very soon, because then the bishop has to leave this good diagonal. Being up 3 pawns, and still it's not easy to win this one. I feel like he played so terrible in the beginning, and now it's like he finally switched on his brain for the rest of this game. And we are low on time. So if I take with the rook, if he sacks the bishop, I take with the rook, with the king. If he checks, yeah, I think it's all fine. Yep. That's amazing for us. Thank you for trading. And now we have a passed pawn. All right. Let's put the rook behind it. My knight is covering this. Okay. I don't think that he really has anything. So this knight is important. We cannot really move it. We can move this one. Yes. But I also have to watch out I don't drop the pawn. Yes. But I wanted to get my king on a dark square because I feel safest on the dark squares. I feel like he is about to drop this rook any second. Alright. That's a free rook, and that's a queen. Yep. Yep, he resigns. There's nothing he can do to stop the queening, and then we just win the game. So yeah, very good game. Hope you enjoyed this one. Let me drop a comment if you had any other plans for this game.